Alright, so I just got done making this video once and then I screwed up how I saved it, so I gotta make it again. Alright, I'm trying to be patient with myself. So here's the deal. You just, at the end of the last video, I told you go calculate and fill in your chart. And understand that we only changed just a tiny little assumption about the way the price is determined between perfect competition and the monopoly. And it's going to have dramatic effect on our chart and our calculations, and ultimately on the graph that we create from that chart. So let's take a look here. Hopefully you have tried this. You're going to double check your answers with me. All right. And I'm going to point out a few things here for you. So we talked about, first of all, I'm using water here. Water is a common example, public water I should say, is a common example of a monopoly. When you turn on your tap water, you normally get it from one place and one place alone, and that's some sort of county or local government who provides that water for you. And so as the quantity increases here, we notice that the price decreases. So if that public utility wants to sell you more water, they're going to have to charge a lower and lower price. If they try to rip you off, well, you're going to say, hey, you know what? Or Mr. Sutton would say, hey, you know what? The reservoir is only 3 miles from my house. I'll walk down and I will dip my bucket into the reservoir and I will bring the water back myself. And I will not pay for it. So if they want me to buy more water, they have to lower the price, or else I will do that walk. They'd have to charge me a lot to do that walk, but that's besides the point. So this is the one difference that I started you with, was the price. So total revenue, price times quantity, not going to take a lot of time there. Average revenue, I'm going to skip for right now. Total cost I gave you, we've calculated that enough. You don't need to know about fixed cost plus variable cost at this moment. Profit, I suspect you did fine here too. Total revenue minus total cost. Marginal revenue, you probably did pretty good too. Change in total revenue over change in quantity. Notice the change in quantity here is 1, so that makes your life easy. But you do need to check, because if it's 10 or if it's 100, then you got to remember that you're not just doing the change in total revenue, which people get in the habit of. They just say, okay, change up 10, 8, down, down, down. You got to pay attention to what the quantity is over here. Marginal cost, same deal. Change in total cost over change in quantity. Pay attention to your quantity. But here, you could just look at the change in the total cost and the change in total revenue, because our quantity change was 1 every time. All right, so, and the marginal cost goes upwards at every additional output, which is normal. And our average total cost also makes this U-shaped, right? It starts off pretty high, it goes down, bottoms out, and then works its way back upwards. This is normal. This is what we've seen before. Now, one thing that we do see that is very different, I'm going to go back to my marginal revenue curve. This is a huge difference from what we had in perfect competition, because here, marginal revenue, or in perfect competition, marginal revenue equaled what? Equaled our price. But if you look at the marginal revenue column and the price column, you notice that they're different. So marginal revenue does not equal the price here. And in fact, the marginal revenue, when compared to the price, is the marginal revenue is less than the price for a monopoly. That is the big news here. That's the big deal. That's a really big deal. So now the question becomes, well, what does tell us about the price? Well, it's up here. I must have lost that at some point. Total revenue divided by quantity here. Our average revenue tells us our price. If you notice, they are exactly the same. Okay? So your average revenue is now your price, and you notice that your average revenue is above your marginal revenue at every quantity except for the very first one. And some people, depending on the graph, may graph that a little bit different, but they can start together. Now, a couple of things to notice elsewhere. If you take a look, marginal revenue, or marginal cost and average total cost, where do they always meet? They always meet at the lowest point of ATC, and that continues to be true here. So that's a good rule to remember and to certainly not forget. Now, probably the biggest thing is, how many units is this monopoly going to produce? And I will say this. Well, let me ask you. The goal of any firm remains, so far as we can tell, to produce the most profit. So where do we make the most profit? Take a look. How many units? So you're looking for the biggest number here? Well, it looks to me like it's got to be either 3 or 3. So it's got to be either 2 or 3 units. Now, do you remember the profit maximization rule from perfect competition? I seem to remember it was MR equals MC. And lo and behold, that same rule applies here. So we are going to make 3 units, that's a star, of water to maximize our profits at $3. So all the rules remain the same. Now, what I would like you to do here, I would like you to graph on the graph below a few things. You're going to graph 4 things. Actually, I'm going to circle 5 things, but you're only going to graph 4 of them. And you should know how that is possible. So you're going to graph marginal revenue. There it is. Marginal revenue, marginal cost, and average total cost. You're also going to do average revenue, and you're also going to do the price. Okay? Apparently I'm not drawing. Oh, there we are. So those are the 5 things that I want you to graph on the chart below. Do that, and then we'll get back together. For those of you who are still like confused about this marginal revenue and average revenue thing, here's somebody that might be able to help you out a little bit. You can go check out Mr. Clifford. Here's the URL. This is the title of his video, so you can go and find that and check it out for yourselves, okay? So go make your graph, and then we will get back together. If you have any questions, let me know. Oh, stop this thing. Yep, there we go. Stop.